This episode is brought to you by Sword Tiling, lead tiling specialists in the Northeast. Covering all aspects, including commercial and domestic, they've got you covered. So head to sword_tiling on Instagram and tell them St. James's Pod sent you. Welcome back to the podcast. On this episode, we're going to talk about the emphatic victory that was the Chelsea game at St. James's Park. I'm joined again by Thomas Page and Pete Sword, and I am Sam. So, boys, what about it? We're another 3 points, another top Big Six team defeated.
Unbelievable, Jeff.
I can't believe it, man. Amazing.
Right, let's jump straight into it then. What were your thoughts when the team sheets were announced? Because for me, it was actually their team that took my eye more than ours. And I thought, actually, they've started quite a weak team. Did you agree with that?
Shy team. 100% shy team.
Yeah.
I don't get why they had all the big guns on the bench. Your Ziyech, your Havertz, your Pulisic, your Orba. I didn't understand it. I thought it was going to be a lot easier. I don't know. But he massively underestimated and all that.
I think it was partly down to he's starting to lose faith in some of the big names and their attitudes. And I sort of thought Aubameyang might be one of those to get cut from the team just because, recent performances haven't been great. And I think we mentioned it on the preview that he just looks like a player who doesn't want to be there. And somebody like Breuer, who's young, lively, like he's got full of potential. I wasn't necessarily too surprised then to have him start. I mean, I know they had injuries which have caused the young lad Lewis Hall to start at left wing back.
Could play him, I think. Could play him.
He did look a decent player. But no, there was a slightly surprising to see some of those other names, like Peter mentioned there, Havertz especially, not starting the game. But in terms of our lineup was as we would expect. I would have thought.
I think the big one
obviously.
Was, sorry, I was going to say about Wilson. There's a lot of reports through the week. You just about mentioned that, Sam.
Yeah. Cool.
Obviously, the reports through the week that he played against Southampton, didn't he? Came off. Was it half time? He came off against Southampton because he'd obviously been suffering with illness. And there was reports through the week saying he still wasn't ill. He was going to miss the game. I didn't really believe them. I didn't believe the reports he was going to miss the game. I think they just latched onto the fact that he was poorly. He's not going to play the last game. He's been picked the World Cup. What's going on? I didn't believe that at all. But it was a relief to see him on the bench, I think. But I still sort of think it could have been a slight bit of Eddie Howe protecting him for the World Cup.
That's what I thought.
If he's fit enough for the bench, I know we don't have a massive bench, but if he's fit enough for the bench, but I think he was just sort of strapping him in cotton wool a little bit.
Well, there was talk, wasn't there, that it could have been COVID that he had.
I think he's come out and said it was COVID, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think it was on his podcast, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit strange.
So, I don't think he's breaking any rules now. I think God knows what the rules are on COVID anymore. But obviously, quick turnaround from if he was feeling the effects from the Southampton game, and then being able to make it for the Chelsea game. But it was going to be a quick turnaround on that one. But he was. I think, like Pete said, I think Eddie was partly thinking about just avoiding any injuries. Obviously, during that Premier League weekend, we'd seen some players that went down the day earlier in the day and had to go off with injuries, like Maddison, for example. So I think maybe there was some inklings in the back of Eddie's mind thinking, we don't want that to happen to Wilson, especially on the.
Well, we all see what happened to Maddison.
Tournament.
Luckily, it wasn't bad for Maddison, but fucking hell, that was a massive risk.
Oh yeah, huge.
I do think partly though it's rewarding Wood for his goal against who did he score against?
Southampton.
Palace.
No, Southampton.
Yeah.
Southampton.
Yeah. And if Wilson's been training by himself all week and he's not 100%, it would be a little bit of a bad message to Chris Wood, who's come on and done well, that he doesn't get the nod.
I agree with that. Aye.
But back to the Chelsea 11, it's interesting because we were talking about in the last episode how Potter's going to handle the bigger egos now that he's at Chelsea. And it did seem as if that was part of his thinking, was they didn't really come through for him in the Arsenal game, so he's dropped them. Although I did notice Sterling had a migraine, which to me just sounds like I don't want to play before the World Cup.
I don't want to play before the World Cup, 100%, mate. I thought exactly the same thing. He's like you said, he's a big ego. He said, "Oh shit, I've got a migraine." Fuck me, that's what you use to get out of work. I've got a migraine. Basically, I can't be off. You know what I mean? I've got a migraine on a Monday morning. What last? It's definitely a cop out that But I think regarding Potter and the handling the big players, I don't think he can handle them. Don't know what's going. I don't think it's Potter putting his. Well, it's obviously Potter picking the team, but I do not think he's got the full belief in that dressing room at all. Especially when you're trying to handle someone like Aubameyang. I was thinking this earlier. Remember when Aubameyang was at Arsenal we've all seen the documentary, the fucking turmoil in that club. It was a proper cesspit of club that when he was there. Even Granit Xhaka, he was going west. But Auba's gone now, and look at Arsenal, they're flying, the top of the league, absolutely smashing it. They're all together as one. Everyone loves Xhaka again. I can see...
They seem like a good unit again, don't they?
Yeah, I think Aubameyang's just a fucking bad apple, and it wouldn't surprise me because Arteta was a young manager. Potter's, he's not young, but he's a less experienced. He hasn't got the CV as the top managers that manage Chelsea, so he could quite well find it very difficult to manage Aubameyang, because Aubameyang obviously does what the fuck he wants. So, I think it's a big challenge for him.
That's spot on, yeah. And I think a lot of those players there, obviously he's not had a transfer window yet, Potter, to do anything to bring in any of his names in. I know he's brought in quite a lot of backroom staff that he's had at Brighton, but playing staff-wise, he's not had that opportunity to change that around. But I do expect in January he's gonna make some wholesale changes. Obviously they've got this new owner in who's not afraid to put his hand in his pocket spend money. So yeah, they're gonna just keep on spending until they get it right, Chelsea, and they've got to get rid of some of these egos, even some of the ones that were there under Tuchel and before that, even I think
the guys he inherited.
There's so many that are still there from managers gone by. There's just the constant turnaround of managers. You do imagine that they just get a little bit sick of that, and then someone like Potter comes in whose CV isn't that, like Pete said, isn't as strong as others. I think Potter's got a big task on his hands there. Evidently, from the basis on which his team played against us.
Yeah, I think interestingly, there's quite a contrast between us and them in terms of going into this break as well. It's for us, you could argue it's come at the worst time because we've got such great momentum at the moment. But for Chelsea, it probably gives him a great opportunity to, one, spend some time training the players in how he wants them to play, because obviously he didn't get the pre-season. And then, two, the international players will be going away, so you'd imagine those players are the ones with the bigger egos. So he's going to get rid of them, and then he can also make transfers. So It will be interesting to see how they get on in the second 2/3 of the season or whatever it is. But back to our starting 11, we discussed beforehand whether or not Maxi might come in. Obviously, he doesn't. And he doesn't even end up getting on the pitch, does he? Were you surprised by that at all?
Well, kind of and kind of not. I know I mentioned in the after the Palace game how I felt
he's
he was
fucking
well
buzzing
off
because Jacob Murphy
of...
came on, man.
Hey, there's levels, all right. There's levels, and Murphy's there, and Maxi's there. No, but yeah, generally, like I made that call that Maxi was well off it in that Palace game, and I did say that potentially he could come in, and be really geared up for this one, and try and show that he's deserving of place, because Maxi does like to turn up for big games, but he didn't. He didn't have a good game against Palace, and I think that was probably in the back of Eddie's mind not to take such a risk in case he carried some of that form or that rustiness into this one. So, yeah, in the end, can't fault Eddie for not, going with him and sticking with Big Joe out there on the left.
Yeah, Joe and Joe Willock were doing that swappy thing again as well, which works really well, I think. So I wonder if he's quite enjoying seeing the way those two work together. And then obviously Murphy comes on later on, which I do think he deserved the nod over Maxi. And the only other player was, like we've already said, Chris Wood coming in. How did you feel when you did realise that Wilson wasn't going to start? Because I was really confident for this game, but
yeah,
I feel harsh to say, but when I saw Wilson wasn't starting and Wood was, I was like, oh, actually, this is going to be a little bit tougher than I thought. Luckily, it didn't turn out that way, and he made me eat my words a little bit. But at the time,
yeah, I think I agree with that. Like I was saying before the game, I was like, I thought we're going to smash them 3-0. To be honest, like they both stuck a 5 each on there 3-0 before the game. I mean, that was after like 6 points.
Yeah.
So, where
I think I said 3-1 as well. Like way too confident.
Yeah, we were pretty confident. Yeah,
we're going to win. We're massively confident we're going to win. The form we're on. We're looking at talking about Chelsea's results the last podcast. There was nothing to go on, really, was there? You know what I mean? But the whole Wilson thing, you're always going to be disappointed when, not disappointed, but a bit sketchy when Wilson's getting dropped and Wood's starting, because they're two completely different. Wilson can play on his own up front. Chris Wood can't. He doesn't get into the pockets that Wilson does. He's a big handful up front, 100%. We all know that. He can head the ball, but it's not as much as an attacking threat. But is what it is. Like he scored against Southampton. Do you know what I mean? You've got to give him his due. The whole Maxi thing for me, just going back to that, I was extremely surprised that he didn't come on at all, because I mean he's not going to the World Cup. He's now got a month off. So if he did get a little knock, he's got a month off anyway. But we all know Jacob Murphy's been a bit. He has put a shift in. He's tried his hardest. A couple of games hasn't been great, but he's. I don't think he's warranted not today to be completely dropped. Just because Max is fit. I mean, saying that 5 games ago, I'd be saying I'd drop Murphy and bring on Maxi, but it's just typical Eddie Howe, really, isn't it? Rewarding good performances and good attitude and stuff like that.
The thing with Murphy is as well, like he's very good, like defensively. Like he plays the system very well. He does what Eddie Howe wants, and Maxi's kind of still getting to grips with that a bit. And obviously, I don't want to like bag him out too much, because he actually picked up his injury by tracking back, didn't he? Like that's originally how he pulled his hamstring, was he absolutely belted it to get back in.
Yeah.
But like the way the game was going, I think that's why you gave Murphy the nod, because he does trust them a bit more with the press, and his defensive duties, even though obviously he's an attacking player. But let's get into the game then. So I've picked out the first real moment for me that got me off my seat was Miggy blasted a volley over the bar. Don't know if you guys remember this.
Yeah,
you see that?
You had to go for it.
You see that dropping to him.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, you see it dropping to him, and you're like, "It's Miggy. He's on form. Like this is going." And then just like
that's good.
Smashes it over.
Fucking straight up New Wave fans.
I think I got a bit too carried away in the pub and I'd jumped that far out my seat that me chair ended up tumbling way back behind me, and then everyone in the pub was laughing as I was scrambling to get my chair back. But it was it's hard not to get carried away though when Miggy's on form, but it was great build up though. I thought that Willock did such great work down the left, really committed as Piliqueta, and stood up a fantastic ball, which, again, we can't really criticise anybody for not getting on the end of the initial cross, but had somebody planted the head on that one, that was in for sure. It was just a perfect weight of
dangerous
cross.
area on it as well.
Right, yeah, exactly. It'd gone over Mendy. It was if somebody was just there at towards the back post, heading that one in, it was 1-0. But yeah, when it fell to Miggy, I think it fell on his left foot, and you expected it to hit the back of the net.
He's got that much confidence at the minute. He's obviously going to hit it. We all want him to hit it because he's smashing them in at the minute. So the whole stadium shouting to shoot. He's obviously going to fucking blast it, isn't he? But that's one of them. It'll come out 1 out of 10 times. So we'll see.
For sure.
I think the first thing you notice in that game though is the insane levels of press that we're giving out. Especially, I'd say the first maybe 10 minutes of both halves, especially with so much on them. And Chelsea are a team that like to play out from the back, and they didn't shy away from doing that, even though we were pressing so well. But we were forcing mistakes out of them, weren't we? I
was just going to say that the thing about the press that you were talking about, they had Mendy had the ball that had Azpilicueta and Cucurella on each side, literally, basically on the byline, waiting to have the ball played. And we've got Miggy, we've got Joe Willock, we've got Joe Linton stood on the edge of the 18-yard box, just ready to pounce on them. And the mistakes that they were making, it's like they didn't learn this. It's like they didn't have another idea of what they do. That's all they.
They either didn't have one, or they just wanted to purposely force through it. Which I don't know. It's an odd one because it seems like they came with the total wrong plan. And considering Potter's already played against us this season with Brighton, but credit to our boys, such high levels.
Yeah, we made somebody like Koulibaly look average, I thought, and obviously he's such a very good defender.
Average, yeah.
Yeah, no, he looked slow. He looked sluggish when we pressed him, and like you say, he was forced into just clearing it out in the touch on a number of occasions. So was Mendy. It was just it was incredible levels to force them back. And the midfield battle, me and Pete were talking just before we came on, that was where we won the game. Our midfield three against theirs, we just consistently overran them and just harried them.
Longstaff was tremendous.
Longstaff, yeah. Just going to say that. I think he epitomised it for me.
The graft and the grit and the shaggy old pit pony still grafting away. He doesn't stop. You know what I mean? That's what he is. He does all the shit work. He gets himself stuck in, and he's not afraid of it. He's getting back to the point of where he was a good few seasons ago, of when Rafa had him, and we were thinking we've got to on my hands here. And then obviously declined in the Bruce era. He's getting that confidence back. He's getting that run of games, and he's almost turning into a bit of a Joe Linton, because he's everywhere. He's getting stuck in every challenge. It might not be pretty, but he's like having them two in the middle. It's like having the Berlin Wall on the halfway line. Now it's getting past them.
Oh yeah, must be so frustrating for them. Like
the team trying to play against them two. Like, Sean, he's not a little lad, is he? He's a big lad, Sean.
Yeah.
All of the midfield, they want to get stuck in. I was going to say, like the way in which we cut off attacks from the opposition by Longstaff and Joe Linton or Willock, whoever it is on the other side, just going and doubling up with the fullback on those sides of the field, and going up and down as well. Literally, like you say, everywhere on that, across that midfield line is just players going forward, backward, sideways, wherever to close space down, make challenges, and it's I don't think we've really ever seen that, or at least from my memory, a Newcastle team that presses that much, and puts that much effort in. I can't really recall a team like that from the past doing that.
Never. And we're talking about how they didn't really seem to have another idea, but if they can't find a way through, first of all, they've got to get past our attackers, but then they can't get through the midfield. The only other real option is to hit a long ball. But then you've got our defence that the likes of Botman is barely lost an aerial duel all season. Dan Burns, 6'8" or whatever. Fabian Shaw, excellent in the air. Then even Trippier, he reads the game so well. He's not the obviously tallest, but the amount of long balls he actually cuts out, and then we're straight on the attack. So it's not that surprising, really, that they are forced to keep trying to play through.
Speaking on Trippier again, his defensive awareness was absolutely outstanding. Trippier caused us a couple of problems by his own slight mistakes, but he grafted away and won the ball back straight away. He recovered any mistake he did, which was very little. He recovered straight away, and like you say, he's like Trippier's could even be smaller than me. Trippier, but he's you know what I mean. He gets it.
A couple of inches on yourself there.
The fridge, mate. But for him to blend in with Shaw, Botman, and Dan Burn. He doesn't look out of place, does he? No. It's a fantastic defence. To be honest, I can only feel sorry for Matt Target, because wasn't it his injury? He got a slight injury or something. Or was it when he was he ill? Or I can't remember. Was he? Yeah, something like that. And he obviously couldn't play. So Dan Burn took his place. He's been there ever since. We mentioned that quite a lot, but it's a shame. But
form you can't drop Big Dan Burn. He's just undroppable at the minute.
It'll be interesting to see if Matty Target gets a look in if we do buy a classic CDM, because I think we've talked about this before, where we seem to go to that back three when Trippier bombs on, and obviously Burns giving cover to Trips. Mm-hmm. But if we get that classic CDM in, who's going to sit there, then it doesn't matter if the left back or right back bomb. We've got somebody there to sit in either way.
You've got someone holding there, haven't you?
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, but obviously it's working at the minute, so do you change it? Or it does just give you another option?
Well, this is it. Yeah, exactly. We're going to need other options if we're... I don't want to get carried away. If we're going the way we're going, we're going to have European midweek games.
When we win the league.
When we win the league. If we've got Champions League and we've got Europa League to play, we're going to need other options. We're going to need backup players of the same caliber. So, you got 100% get someone in.
One player I wanted to just touch on in this game that we're obviously praising the midfield, and he's usually levels above the way he played. I mean, for me anyway, I thought Bruno had a bit of an off game. He seemed to be affected by that penalty miss. I don't know. I thought he was going to come back in and be really like, I'm gonna give the best performance ever. But numerous times he gave the ball away, and he seemed just really frustrated.
Yeah, I think it was noticeable that he had a slight bee in his bonnet, because I'm skipping forward a bit here, but towards the sort of back in the second half, there was some tackles going in, like he was launching himself around the place. But he could have been frustrated, mate. I hadn't really thought of it that way, but you could have been right. But he wasn't. Is it just because a lot of the midfield and the two white players had a fantastic game, so Bruno didn't stand out as much as he usually does?
Probably that, I would say. I think, we can't put too much of a magnifying glass on Bruno on this occasion, because I think, the team as a whole obviously played excellently, but Bruno, I do see what you mean. He did look a little not himself. There were definitely some stray passes, and just not as impactful as he would have wanted to be. But at the same time, like, again, you can't knock his determination whenever, like we mentioned with Trippier, whenever he made a mistake, he grafted back, he won the ball back. Bruno, likewise, and like Pete mentioned, a few tasty tackles as well. But he still, even that's a beauty with Bruno. Like, because of his all-round game, he can, if one side of it is lacking in the attacking sense, he more than makes up for it defensively, and puts the effort in. Always tracks back, always tries to win the ball, and get us back moving in the right direction. But it doesn't. So in that sense, we can't completely knock him entirely for his performances, but we're so used to seeing him now being a game changer in the other sense of being on the front foot, making those through balls and passes, that when they don't come off, I can see why it doesn't then instantly feel as though he had a good game. But I still think he had a decent enough game, but maybe carried slightly along by some of the other performers in the team.
Yeah, there was a couple of, like, the passes I'm talking about. There was like two in quick succession, but the sort of passes where he's like, nobody but Bruno would probably pick that pass anyway. So it's like he's making that pass that it would be an absolutely like class ball through if you weight it right, but he just puts a bit too much on it, and Miggy can't get on the end of it, for example. But then you just see his head go, and he's like screaming, and like, I just felt like it affected his game this time, rather than like it made him, like, pumped him up and was like, oh, I'm going to get the next one. Which I don't know if it was with that battle in the centre of the park, because it was that, I can't remember which player it was, but there were two of them that kept like going at each other, and Bruno puts in like quite a naughty little challenge later on. But he just seemed to be a bit frustrated and couldn't seem to like get his passing boots on. But we'll move on to the next thing, which was actually Chelsea come on to a great attack. And I'm not sure who crossed the ball in, but it was a great cross for Broja. And Botman manages to just get a glancing header and just like knocks it over him, goes out for a corner, which was a great bit of defending. Like, at first, when you see that ball coming in, you're like, oh, this is going to be at least on target. And he just manages to get enough on it to take it away from him.
Was that when I think Botman had somebody had made a mistake leading up to that? I'm sure of it. And I think it might have been Botman that did that earlier in that phase of the play. But then, no doubt, like, it was fantastic bit of play to just read it, and because again, it was. I think if it hits Breuer there, then that's him bagging that one. But I think again, Botman. What can we say? He's just, for somebody so young, that intelligence of just knowing exactly where he needs to be and reading the game is just fantastic.
And he's bounced straight back from that game that he had where he was quite sloppy on the ball. He had that one game. Yeah. Gave away possession a couple of times. So that's great that he's bounced straight back and there's been no issues with confidence or anything like that. For such a young lad.
Just an off game, that's all. It's just an off game.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even an off game, was it? It was just a few off moments.
Right there,
We'll move on to the handball shout. Who is it that drives the ball across? Is it Dan Burn?
Dan Burn's
Dan
making
Burn
that
onto Chalobah.
one. He's high up the. Yeah, he's getting a nosebleed up there, Dan Burn. But
what's he doing up there?
I know he does exactly what you would want him to do in trying to cut the ball back. And again, me and Pete were talking about this one. It's absolutely not a penalty, and I can't believe it was even a thing at all. It wasn't. It was waved off pretty quickly, wasn't it, by the refs? So, but as far as a talking point goes, like some people have maybe made it bigger than it actually was, but it was. I mean, Chalobah could not do anything. Like he has to be able to hold his own weight, as he's going down. He can't. What can he do? You can't just turn his arm away and then
we were talking just
lie
earlier,
there like a fish.
We were talking just earlier, and I don't agree with that rule, mate. I think it's absolutely shocking, that rule. I get why it's there, because your hand's gone down to stop yourself from falling. I get that 100%. But if Dan Burn is cutting that ball back, right, Wilson's there, there's nobody else around him, for example, Wilson's there, him one-on-one with the keeper, even if it's an open goal, keeper might be miles away. That ball hits that arm with Chalobah, it goes out for a corner, or it goes away from Wilson. That's a goal scoring opportunity gone just because he's trying to balance himself. Whereas if you handball the goal, if the ball hits your hand completely accidentally, no matter what, and you score from it, it's disallowed. This needs to be a bit of give and take there for me. If that was an accident, and okay, fair enough, he's holding himself up, but it's stopping a goal scoring opportunity. It's all.
See, I was going to say. I was screaming penalty, I've got to be honest. I was that is a penalty. It's going in the box and his hand takes it away. So it's not like...
It's a new
I
rule,
wouldn't say it's a yellow card, but it's a penalty for me. But I get the argument the other way, and I can see the debate on Twitter and stuff. There's obviously a lot of people saying no penalty. But I think part of it is as well, is that, like you say, that isn't Wilson isn't stood there with an open goal, so it's not like there's a clear and obvious goal scoring opportunity. It's yes, it's going in the box, but you don't know.
You can't just go, oh well, there's nobody there to score, so it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I mean, to be honest, I didn't actually know it was a rule. It was actually Dawson told me at the match. He was like, "Oh, it's a new rule that if you put your hand down for your weight." I hadn't heard of that. But I was straight away. I was like, "That's ridiculous!" Okay, you put your hand down naturally, you hold your weight, but it's just
you can see it being, you could see it being abused. Is where I think you're probably going with Pete on that one. Some players might be like, "Oh, I've put my arm down," they'll
deliberately make themselves bigger by dropping that arm. So if it hits them, it's fine. It's a bit of a joke, but Christ, how many rules are a joke these days? You know what I mean?
Well, exactly. Yeah, the whole handball thing and offsides and everything. There's so many interpretations of those rules, which we're never going to get a proper consensus on them. I don't think.
I think it's been made slightly harder now as well, because in the past, before VAR, you could say that the ref's making a split-second decision, he's only seen it once.
Mm-hmm.
But now, with the fact that you're like 100% viewing what has actually happened, he can see the whole picture of the game, see everything around it. They do have to kind of make these rules where it's like, this in this instance it is, in this instance it isn't. And what we want as fans and probably players is consistency. So again, I'll go back to like, I don't mind the fact that it wasn't given as a pen, as long as that is the rule and the stick by it.
Exactly, mate. We know what's going to happen where that is given as a pen from a different team in the Prem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After that, then we'll move on to the second half, which I've already mentioned again. Like the lads come out and the levels of press are just right up there again. They've obviously had the halftime break, and there's a frantic couple of chances. I don't know if you remember this specifically, but the ball was pinging around the Chelsea box a little bit, and then it comes out to Bruno, and everyone's shouting shoot, obviously, and one of their players, I can't remember who it was, manages to block it.
Yeah.
But after that, pretty much straight away, then Longstaff gets in and gets a shot away as well after like a clever sort of first time left footed cross by
a little cut back, wasn't it?
It was brilliant build up again. Yeah, and it would have been one of them like really eye catching goals with that Mickey cross, and then Longstaff, going first time. I don't know, could he have took a touch, or try to? It was coming at him quite quick.
I think he made the right decision to hit it first time. For me,
yeah, it was just
leaning back
unfortunate.
a bit in that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only gone over the bar by I don't know, not by much. But yeah, I mean that would have been.
It was worth the effort
at that moment.
You couldn't not pull the trigger then. It's pointless trying to walk it into the box. The chances there, you got to take it. Just one of them things where he wasn't set right. He's not a striker, is he? He's not renowned for how he strikes the ball. But he had to take his chance. Went over. So
it's great that he's in that position, though, isn't it? Because we were talking in the last one how Joe Willock said he'd been working with Eddie Howard about arriving into the box at the right times and stuff. And I was saying, I wonder if Longstaff's been doing the same, because he has been popping up. He doesn't quite have the shooting boots of Willock at the minute. Might come. Hopefully it does come. But you're getting in some great areas. And if he can add that to his game, as we're saying, he's an absolute workhorse and he gives everything, and he's great at getting us possession back. So if you can add some goals in as well. Yeah,
I remember a goal he scored a few seasons back now when we beat Bournemouth away from home, and it was similar in that he in the way he arrived in the box to score that one. I just think. And he's obviously been renowned in the past as well for having a cracking long shot on him as well from distance. It's just long shot, long stuff.
Cracking long stuff.
Yeah,
long shot.
Yeah. So I do think in and around the box is where he's you're right. He's maybe lacking that bit of composure, which I'm sure he'll get from learning a bit from Willock.
Yeah, normally once one goes in, they start to come, don't they? Because he used to score quite a few, didn't he? And was it Blackpool that he went on loan at before he broke into our first team?
Yeah,
and he was. I'm sure he was bagging loads at that.
He scored a few, yeah, and there were a couple of goal of the season ones as well, contenders from distance. So yeah, he has got that in his game, but I think other managers might have just trained that out of him slightly, and tried to make him more of a sitting midfielder who doesn't break the lines as much. But if we want to have equal balance of players when we're in attacking phases, going forward, and like Willock does on the other side, then Longstaff is probably for the long term, if he wants to keep in the team, needs to add that string to his bow.
Chelsea came with a rare opportunity after that, which it fell to Conor Gallagher in the end, but it was actually from a sloppy pass from Bruno in the second half. But Pope absolutely pulls it out, doesn't he? Great save. What was that like in the ground, Pete?
You could sort of, you're almost right behind it from where we are. It was a cracking strike from Gallagher. I didn't think it had that much power on it. I think I'm going to sound a bit like I'm putting Pope down here. It was a good reach. Pope's a big lad. It was a good reach, but I don't think I was
a bit Hollywood, was it?
I don't think I was that worried about it. It was. I think he got a good hand to it, so it wasn't necessarily out of his reach. Like, to get a fingertip save to it, but I think it was slightly more Hollywood for me. But I mean, that was their best chance, wasn't it? So
yeah.
I mean, it was a good strike and it was a good save, but I don't think it was that much of an issue for Super Nick Pope, England's number one.
Yeah, and we're sort of forcing them to take long shots and stuff, which is obviously a great thing, and they've got to get it pinpoint perfection if they want to get it past Pope. So luckily, he pulls another great save out. And then down the other end, Miggy goes on one of his runs, and strangely enough, it ends up in the back of the net, but it's not from Miggy, it's from Joe Willock. What a goal that was, boys.
Well, it was... We were watching it earlier. Me and Paige both actually watched the highlights just before, and it started from Trippier's header. It right back over to Joe Linton. Joe Linton with a ridiculous little flick, by the way, plays it down the line to Miggy. Standard Miggy cuts inside every time, and the best bit was the control with these two little headers. I don't even know how he thought to do that. It's obviously not natural to control heading it down with your hand, but Joe Willock, right place, right time, absolute perler. There was absolute uproar in the stands when that went in. There was fucking bodies flying everywhere. There was coats everywhere. There was junk everywhere. It was bedlam in the stands when that went in, purely because we battered them all game. Okay, we battered them. We were on the front foot the whole game. Yeah. They went all defensive. We felt like a goal was coming, and it was a worldie like that. Joe Willock as well. Joe was the man of the match for me. He was fantastic the whole game. Yeah. And to top it off with that, it was brilliant. And Joe Willock doesn't usually celebrate that much. He seems quite mellow. We spoke about this. That he's quite mellow, and he absolutely loved that finish. Give it a 3-point celebration as well, man. What a guy! Honestly, it was a pearl of that, unreal.
I mean, it could have gone horribly wrong, obviously, because Miggy cutting inside and on form, he might have just been some players may have just been like, "Oh, fuck you, I'm taking this on," and just and just push them out of the way and just get a shot off themselves. But no, fair play, Miggy. Obviously, in a split second, realised, okay, I've maybe not got the best position to get a shot away here. I'll just quickly skip over this and leave it for. I couldn't quite tell if he got a shout from Willock or not, but he just knew he was there in the periphery and just skipped over. And then to hit that sweet as a nut, with the inside of his step, just the power.
It was Mendy didn't expect it, did he?
Brilliant. No, I don't think anyone did. Yeah,
I think
just
everyone was
on Miggy. Next minute, it's in the back of the net. You're like, what the fuck? Can you imagine if he'd skied it though?
But then Miggy's not the type of player to come back to him and start giving him grief if he's skied.
What the fuck are you doing, man?
Miggy's probably come over smiling.
Next time.
Look, next time.
But I don't think he got a shout off Miggy myself. I think Miggy's touch was slightly heavy. His touch was slightly heavy, and he just seen Willock running on a bit, so he just backed off. But fantastic finish that was, brilliant.
He set the centre half down as well, Miggy, didn't he? one of the touches he makes, it's like he feints to shoot, and the centre half just like goes to ground, and it just opens up the gap for Willock to just curl it in. And that celebration, Pete, I think was it the Palace game he scored in?
Yeah,
because he did the same celebration. Oh,
did he do that against Palace? Sorry, not Palace, Southampton.
Yeah. It was
Southampton. Do it against Southampton.
But he says in the post game interview like how good it is to score in front of the fans again. And he clearly just like loves it here now, which is
I think that Southampton games brought him past that little barrier, because he was always sort of he's playing well. We've spoken about it before, like he's there and he does good runs, but he's not noticing him as much. And then obviously he came along at Southampton. He had a fantastic game. He scored, and then he had an even better game against Chelsea, one of the big sixes they call them, and he scored an absolute worldie. It's brilliant for him. Absolutely fantastic for him. Like, so happy for him.
I think he's over in New York now. I think you were saying.
I've seen
to watch the basketball.
Aye, of
course.
That's why
all that celebration because he's a big NBA fan, is he?
Must be.
Yeah, it seems so. Yeah. So I just want to briefly talk about the ref. I don't want to spend too much time on him because
I'm glad you was up.
It's a bit of a negative, but go on then, take us away.
I thought he was fucking appalling, to be honest. I thought it was very bad refereeing. He would not let this game. He would not let the game flow. He blew for everything. Soft challenges. Challenges that should have had cards weren't getting cards. And this is later on in the game. He was giving out cards for soft challenges. It was a bad refereeing performance, I thought. I also thought that the linesman on the far side, so the far side of the pitch, or the dugout side of the pitch, he could not keep up the play. He was about at least 5 yards behind the run of play every single time. The ball went out. He wouldn't put his flag up. He'd wait for the ref to make his mind up, then he'd put his flag up. It was terrible. There was one time the ball came out. I think Mendy touched the ball, or something happened. A Chelsea player passed the ball back to Mendy or something, and it had gone. No, sorry, we were on the attack. Mendy touched the ball and it went. It went over the byline, only just. But we can all see it this now, as clear as day, it went over the byline. You look straight over the linesman. The linesman's still running down the wing to keep up with play. But Mendy is obviously he's had the ball in his hand out. He's brought it back in play and then pretend to like hire it out for a throw in. We're all gone wild. Yes, in the corner because that linesman's nowhere near the run of play. Honestly, man, it was appalling, man. It was so bad. So I mean, luckily we didn't lose that game, like, because it would have made it so bad because the state of officiating. We say it every week, mate. Like, we're going about the state of the referees every week. It's once in a blue moon you get a ref who has a good game, lets it flow. I think it was actually Jared Gillett, the Australian referee, who was that was the last time we had a good game refereed because he let it flow.
Yeah, no, he did, and we've had him twice, and he had a bit of a stinker the first time round. But he seems to be the only one I would say that I could trust to officiate properly. Yeah, I'd echo the same thoughts. He did seem to want to just over officiate every little thing, and
the games wouldn't play. Be interested to see how much was actually played. Like the ball in play.
Well, with the extra time, what did you make of that? Because I was
8
shocked
minutes.
when he said, was it
7?
I thought it was 7. But either way, I was expecting about 4. And then
I was absolutely just.
But he went past that as well.
We did get to the point where we were sort of wasting a bit of time every now and then. I know Nick Pope got carded for it. We were wasting time. Go on.
Do we know if he'll get them cards back now with a break? I know we've asked this question before, and we've probably not found the
I'm not
answer.
sure. It's probably worth. It's probably worth looking into. We've asked the question, but we haven't looked into it.
Can't be honest.
We still don't know. We're leaving it for someone else to do.
But he's picking up with you, though, isn't he, for time wasting?
Time wasting, I'm sure we'll find out after the World Cup, mate.
He's becoming a bit of a scapegoat for fans, like, who are obviously not happy with the fact that we're being successful, but like they'll pick on the fact of Nick Pope and these like shithousery tactics. Even the Lascelles one where he's like tries to take the throw in and Lascelles is just stood behind him.
That was class.
I mean, look, if it's going against you, yeah. If it's against the tune, I'm like, what else are you doing? All this, like, but it has become part of the game to an extent, and especially when the stakes are as high as that game was, that if we seen the win out, we would be consolidated in third and beating a rival for the top four as well. So you have to try and play to those sort of advantages where you can. And if the referee isn't then gonna like stamp down on it enough, like, all right, fair enough, he carded Nick Pope, and he carded Lascelles. But we'll take them all day if we can, eat up that extra few minutes. And I mean, you could see why it ended up boiling over at the end. It was like,
there's beef, isn't there, between Havertz and Burn?
There was that beef, but then there was like, I think obviously the way in which they didn't like how Lascelles and things are like with that throw in, and there was the challenges going in, like we mentioned before, from Bruno. I think Dan Burn puts an absolute perler of a challenge.
That could have ended very badly if he'd have taken that.
It could have, but
that's an old school challenge. At like,
it's fucking. But when you see it, you cannot help but be like, fucking brilliant. Like, you just love it when you just see big centre half just be like, fuck you, I'm having it, and just like, yeah,
especially in the dying minute.
Yeah, no, because
what's this about the beef? Because I've obviously just got up this morning and I've had a notification saying he.
Yeah, well, it was the last game, wasn't it? You cannot remember the last game. I think it was at home. Havertz got the elbow in Burn. Nothing happened. He gets sent off bridge, and Stamford Bridge, and he broke Burn's nose. With the elbow, he actually broke his nose, remember? And absolutely nothing got done about it. I think it was actually that. I'm sure there was something else as well in the same game, like a bad challenge or something like that.
Well, yeah, because Havertz, I'm sure, had a challenge on him from Burn, which he didn't particularly like. And then, that elbow happens, and then Burn's like, he's pointing at him like, that you did that on purpose. Havertz is trying to act like it was...
accidental.
He's not the wiser to it, and it's accident. Oh,
Burn's
yeah.
Fucking 6'7", man, Christ.
Havertz looks the type to have a little nasty streak in him. Burn was just like, you could tell. Obviously, with Havertz not starting the game, as soon as Havertz comes on, Burn's got some he's not forgotten that one, and
he was loving it, man. He was absolutely loving that. I mean, we all when we see it, like.
Yeah,
there was that one, I don't know if it was before the challenge or after, but he like goes in the back of him like that, like just chest to back, and puts him down on the floor, and that's when it like all started, and like the ref has to come over, and like everyone's starting to kick off a little bit. But it's fighting, just, isn't he? Yeah, it's just And then obviously at the end, I mean, I've never really liked Mason Mount personally. I think he's an alright player, but he just seems a bit ratty to me. And I don't know if you've noticed, but at the end, he's coming, like, he runs back onto the pitch and he's giving it the big man, like, trying to get in players' faces now. And I just thought, like, what's he going to do against, like Dan Burn, Joel Linton?
I'm sure he ran over to Dan, because Dan Burn was going to have it. I'm sure Mason Mount ran over. And Mason Mount just came over and Dan Burn just goes, you can fuck off. Fuck right off.
Yeah, and that was, you can proper lip reading, can't you?
He was like, you can fuck off, like. It was hilarious, that, like. But then, out of nowhere, by the way, Page's hero, Murphy, just...
And our Murphy,
out of nowhere,
right in there.
He's getting a dig in on Havertz as well, getting amongst it. He loves it, man. Absolutely class.
He does love it, Murphy. Like that's the one saving grace I've always had with Murphy is that he fucking loves the tune. Like, yeah.
He does.
Class that, but the
what a guy.
By the way, I'm just going to add. So obviously, after the final whistle goes, Miggy makes that challenge on the line. Do you remember it? It was literally the tackle before the final whistle went, which was vital because they could have gone on the attack for that, and the whistle might have one ball was out of play. We stayed in that ground for about at least 15 minutes after that final whistle. 15, 20 minutes. We couldn't get out the ground. It was absolute carnage. Like, everyone's going wild.
Just celebrating.
Celebrating now. And like, obviously the players do the little lap after the game, as they always do. But nobody wanted to leave. It was just absolute, just class. And the walk back, they walk out the stadium, walking down the stadium, down the steps outside the stadium, and it's everyone's still singing, everyone's so buzzing. I can't remember that. It was good after the Arsenal game at the end of last season, but I thought that was such a crucial point for me, purely because it's going into winter break. We're sat third in the Prem. We've just beaten Chelsea 1-0 at home, still unbeaten at home. So it's such a huge... And we didn't have the strongest team out. Maxi wasn't there. Isak wasn't there. Callum Wilson didn't really play. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was such a massive game for me, looking back. And then to go into the pub and to be wanting Wolves to win, to keep us in contention with the top, it's fucking nuts, man. It was absolutely unreal.
Expectations are like changing by the week. It seems like we've started the season just wanting to not be in amongst any relegation battle, and then like as the weeks go on, we're just starting to be like, all right, yeah, well, a little Europa League place that'll do us, and then let's see what Champions League, and next minute we're like, well, if Arsenal start slipping up,
league, right?
Yeah, there could be a title charge coming in.
You know what's great? Everyone hates it. The fact that shut up, man. You're not going to be. You're getting carried away, man. But why are we getting carried away? We're 7 points off top without the strongest team out. We're not getting carried away at all.
We haven't played Arsenal yet. We
haven't played Arsenal yet.
We also haven't even really started spending yet. When you think about what other teams spend in and around us.
Exactly. I
think that's the reason people hate it, is because they know we've got the money.
Oh, yeah. 100%, mate. You're buying the league and all that. How many players are in the team that were there before Eddie installed it?
There's normally over 50% of the starting 11.
It's exactly. But people
like Rafa days. So.
Yeah, people forget. Yeah,
they do.
They don't think of that.
They forget that Miggy was the player that he was before he is now, and it's down to the fact that he's
Joe Willock, Joe Linton, Cher. Do you know what I mean? There's 4 of them. Wilson,
Longstaff,
6. You know what I mean? That's only half your starting 11.
And the other thing is, obviously, we're like having a good time looking at Arsenal and City, but we're now 9 points ahead of Chelsea. That is massive. Because
that's class, man.
Obviously, we can dream of maybe not win the league, but Champions League spots and stuff. But if we could get Europa League this season, that would be a massive success. And the fact that we're 9 points clear of Chelsea just makes that actually so achievable.
Even the Conference League.
Yeah. But we talked about it in the last episode about getting transfers in as well. Like, if you look at that league now, and our goal difference especially, because they've got to get them points and get better goal difference.
Yeah.
Which is going to be very, very hard.
I think Bruno made a statement, I think it was on Brazilian TV or something, talking about Newcastle, and he was saying that it was him and Trippier who started the... I don't know how you'd say it. They took the leap of faith, if you like, into this new project when we were doing absolutely shocking. They were the first to go, and he was saying that they're absolutely loving it now, and hopefully because now people like they've done it, like obviously Isak's done it and stuff like that. Hopefully it's just going to open the floodgates, and people are going to. They're not going to question. Do I go to Newcastle? I'd rather go to, I don't know, fucking Everton or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Because that was the case. Clubs, they'd rather go to places like Everton and stuff like that. West Ham's London.
Yeah.
They'd rather go there than come to us. But now,
or Brentford if you're Gabby
or Brentford if you've Gabby, I'm fucking idiot. So it's just the coin's completely flipped now. Like, and it's
we've got quite a few players in the World Cup as well, which will be good because any potential targets are obviously going to be watching the World Cup.
Yeah.
And you've got, you'd imagine Brazil are going to go quite far. So if Bruno is like highlighted in the World Cup and it's going to come up like club Newcastle United, if England can do anything, we've got 3 players. And then you've still got like Shaw and that as well.
Bruno actually was training today. Don't know if you've seen it.
Did he? No.
Fabinho tackled him and crunched his heel and he had to limp off training. Fantastic. Of course, it's a Liverpool player.
Well, at least he's done it early, so he's got time to recover for coming back to us.
Couldn't get us with the World
Cup. Let's just talk about the World Cup because we're going to have to wrap this up pretty soon. But we're obviously going to do some episodes throughout the World Cup. We'll probably do them initially after England games, but we'll carry it right through because England aren't getting another final.
you can't say that.
But
someone lives in Australia.
I've mapped it all out. We're going all the way. Don't worry.
Listen, I'm up for it. Prove me wrong, Gareth. Well, let's have the predictions then. So let's have. It might be the same answer for both questions for you guys, but 1, how far can England go, and 2, who's going to win the World Cup?
England quarters, Brazil win it.
Yeah, I'm going to put my sensible hat on because I did have us going all the way to the final, but I think we probably get to
sensible hat on.
I would probably get to the quarters as well. The way I've got it mapped out, we'd end up with France at that stage, and then the other side of the draw, I've got Argentina going all the way to the final, and I think Argentina might win it. Is my shout.
Yeah, I'm backing Argentina to win it, but I think we'll go out in the round of 16. So
round of 16. What, you think we're not going to get past? Well, I've got us playing Senegal at that stage.
Yeah.
What, you think we're going to lose to Senegal?
I don't think we will. No, I think we're shite.
By the way, this is the worst. This is the worst build-up to the tournament, especially the English tournament I've known. Like, it's been drastic. Whether that's to do,
I don't know if that's part of it.
I think mainly it's because it's in Qatar. It's in the winter. There's obviously the whole human rights issues that are going on, which are massively.
It's because it's broken up the Prem as well, though, isn't it?
Exactly, mate. You want, because it's in the middle of the Prem. Everyone wants the Prem to be on, not internationals. Do you know what I mean? You want to continue. We want to go to the match on a Saturday. We want to watch a match on a Saturday. We want to talk about it in midweek like we do. But it's like it's the World Cup starts.
The beauty of the World Cup is that it's when there's no football on, so you get
this is it. But like you want to go out into a beer garden, have a couple of pints, enjoy it with everyone.
I mean, I can, but
you can living in fucking Australia. But it's bastard freezing outside, pissing down the day. He wants to get out in that, like. So there's been the build up is shocking. If it's on Monday afternoon at 1 o'clock, man, when we're all at work, it's like fuck.
Yeah. To be fair, the games are bad times for me as well. So
we're gonna watch it now. I mean, but it's the build up's so bad, man. I'm not even interested at the minute. No, I'm not. Couldn't care less at the minute, mate.
I can only echo the same. It's just, it's going to be a bit of. I mean, once it gets started, I think some people start changing their tune a little bit.
Yeah,
and the build-up has obviously been marred by
I'll be
a lot
one of them. Like.
Yeah, no, it hasn't had that true build up. It deserves for such a big tournament. But yeah, it's one which you just want to just kind of get out the way and just like get back to the normal cycle of World Cups where they are back in the summertime and
it's just a bit of a farce to me. All this like the whole Qatar thing. I mean, all this crap that came out recently that they're paying for Qatari residents and locals to act like fans of different countries to build an atmosphere.
I've seen some of them. All England fans that they've like
that they're all trying to be politically correct here. They're all Qatari looking. Not one person wearing a vest, a bucket hat, and some sliders. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Pasty as fuck.
It's a bit of a giveaway, like.
Yeah, considering
it's November over here.
Yeah,
fucking hell! It just doesn't add up, like. But we'll see. We might. Come Monday, we'll all be watching. So hopefully we'll go all the way. It'd be brilliant if we go all the way. But at the minute, not lost.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason probably why I'm so pessimistic about England's chances as well, is like because I'm not even excited about the World Cup. Hopefully if we like smash Iran and like the tournament gets started, then I'll get that excitement and then I'll be like, I'll take my sensible hat off, as Pagey says, and it'll be coming home. But do you want to just give us a quick
just want to say, if we don't beat Iran in minimum 5 goals, we should pack up and go home.
Okay, well, let's just get a quick prediction for the Iran game then, and then we'll sign off.
Well, yeah, Pete's obviously thinking it's needs to be a high score.
It needs to be. I'm not thinking it is going to be.
Yeah. Don't forget, though, Iran currently...
They've got some all right form coming in, you know.
Yeah, they're in the top 20 in the world rankings. I think I heard somewhere that our group is... in terms of where all the teams are ranked, it's the highest ranking group. There's no one below below the 20th. Obviously, including Wales and America in that as well. So Iran are very, very highly ranked on FIFA, but obviously coming from a confederation which is considerably weaker than ours. So they've got a bit of form. I couldn't really tell you much about their team, apart from I think they've got one lad who they call the Iranian Messi because he's quite a high profile guy. He played.
Shocking, that.
Yeah, I can't for the life of me remember his name. He's a striker. He was playing at Zenit St. Petersburg at one point, and he's meant to be their most talented and recognisable player. But apart from that, couldn't really tell you anybody else. So, prediction 3-0 England.
I was going to say the same, mate. But I was also going to say that don't forget that this England team got to the European final. We got beat on pens, but we got the European final. We should be battering Iran, not having it. We should be battering them. The players that we've got, we should be wiping the floor with them, to be honest.
Hopefully the Nations League's a bit deceptive and it's making us think we're proper shite and we'll get back to cup form once it starts.
That's all we've got to go off at the minute, though, isn't it?
True.
The Nations League have got out to go off. But the quality of our players, the City players, the Liverpool players, the Man United players, the Toon players. Excuse me. It's
your body reacted to you saying that Toon players.
I'm too excited, didn't I? But yes, I'm saying we should smash them 5-0 at least. I think it'll be 3-0.
Well, I was saying to you before, I've got a neighbour who's Iranian and he's pretty confident, like they're getting through the group.
Aye.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously we don't have a lot to go off. Not having watched Iran ever, but I'll probably say 2-1, England 2-1, because
2-1.
I just feel like the defence isn't good enough to keep a clean sheet.
So with this Iranian
I'll take
neighbour,
that, to be honest.
I hope you start blasting Football's Coming Home and Vindaloo and all that.
Well, I've invited him round to watch the match, so it should be good crack. Get a bit of rivalry going.
Good little watch along.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'll get a few extra English people as well.
What time's that over there for you?
Singing.
You say?
It's 11 p.m. kick-off, this one, so it's pretty
that's
good,
our
this one. And then the other ones are, I think the other two are 5 a.m.
It's 7 p.m.
I imagine you'll be keeping an eye on the Australia games as well.
Especially
are they on
Iran call
games for you? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be probably. I don't know if I'll get up for them if they're the 5 a.m. ones, but I'll probably watch them back in work and stuff. So I don't think anyone really likes football in work, but anyway, I get a video on in the background. Right then, let's hope we are right, and let's hope you guys are more right than me, and we get right through to the final. And it comes home, and again, I'm getting depressed as we're signing off, but just because I miss you guys that much. So, like, subscribe, whatever.
Whatever.
Like, subscribe, watch repost
Maybe don't feel depressed.
Leave a comment, give us a follow on social media. We'll be back for some World Cup specials, so join us for them. Until then, see you next time.
Wanna hear you go.